For Hey everyone, Evan Kirstel. Another great discussion today with Rightpoint, a company that calls itself a global experience company and part of Genpact. Jason, how are you?
I'm great, Evan. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited for our conversation here today.
As am I, because experiences of all kind are now at the forefront. And tell us about Rightpoint, a global experiences company. What does that mean exactly?
I get that question a lot, and I work with our marketing organization often, to help define this. So we go to market as a total experience company, and I think we all know the pervasiveness of experiences throughout our lives, the blending of the physical and digital world. So at Rightpoint, what total experience means is we help strategize, design, and build technology that is aimed at customer experiences. So think front end websites, applications, things of the sorts. Employee experiences, so modern workspaces, specific tools for employees, or product experiences. So think things like you're actually interacting with a physical product. So in-vehicle experiences or in-store kiosks, things of that nature. And we believe we have a differentiated view of the marketplace because we can connect all three of those lenses. So that's where you start to get total experience. And what we believe is that the companies that are operating in sort of the most efficient capacity are connecting their top line business strategy right down into their customer strategy. That customer strategy will drive a bunch of customer experience initiatives. Those CX initiatives are typically supported by employee experience initiatives and employee experience tools. And you cannot connect those customer and employee experiences without building great product experiences. So that's our niche in the marketplace. As I mentioned, we work on the strategy side of things. We also design and we develop things. So a team of about 800 folks globally. Is that helpful? Does that clarify some of sort of what experience?
Yeah, no, that's quite a large team. And so when yeah, I think UX, I think UI, usability, design thinking, all of these things at the front end, but you take a holistic approach, it seems, to the whole journey of a customer or an experience. That's quite unique out there.
Yeah, it is. It is. And we feel like one of our differentiators is that uniqueness around bringing strategy, design, development to the table throughout. We call it the three legs of the stool, right? You can't have a great experience without all three of those legs. Whether it's Rightpoint bringing all three of our service lines, or our clients bringing, two, and we bring one, we feel it's super important to have all three of those legs of the stool. The one thing I will add, because you talked about it a little bit from sort of a process data perspective, that's really where our parent company Genpact comes in.
Hmm.
So Genpact, really large, transformation process consultant, business process outsourcing firm. I mentioned a little bit sort of on the strategy lens where you start with your business strategy that leads to CX initiatives, EX initiatives, PX initiatives. Underlying all of that is the operations side of things, how your business operates, what is the data that you have, how are you using that data to drive insights throughout the experiences, and that's really where our partnership with Genpact comes in. So Genpact's a very large firm, over 100,000 people at this point, and we use them at all parts of our process, whether that's the data side of things, whether it's thinking about call centers and customer service and how to create a really strong feedback loop for our clients' experiences. So that's sort of the Genpact Rightpoint alliance, and why we believe that there's a really interesting, I'll call it end-to-end transformation, that there might be a bit of a gap in the marketplace that we're going after.
No, I love that. I love the marketplace you're going after, and customer experience has now become king and queen and the kingdom as far as the thought process goes. And yet we're surrounded by terrible customer experiences. Some occasional bright spots out there, but why is that from your sort of perch here?
Good question.
Why have we gotten it so wrong? And what's the first step in changing course?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one we're often faced with a lot of times when we get into conversations with clients. I never like to call anyone's baby ugly, right? So I do like to sort of jump in and have a discussion with them around why some of the products were designed and or built the way they were. Usually, what we uncover a good bit of time is that a company has mismatched what their actual objectives and outcomes are into the products they've built. So that's one, right? A second is they've designed front end experiences based on back end processes that are antiquated or that do not work. An example of this is making someone click through 5 or 6 screens to do a checkout flow because there's certain processes on your back end that you have to check off that you cannot do from an API perspective or something of the sort. One thing we coach all of our clients on, just because, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, bringing strategy, design, and development together, just because there's a technical deficiency or a design deficiency or a process deficiency does not mean that your front end experience has to be deficient. An example I'll give, we have a client, large electronics manufacturer. They go head to head with Amazon every day. They have a flagship location in New York City. And ultimately, at the flagship location, you never touch physical products. They go on conveyor belts all the way down to the register. In their their digital tools and digital applications, when you were trying to check out of something, there was this lag because of the API, the complexity of their product SKUs.
Mm.
It was about a 2-second lag to go from I clicked this, I want it in my cart, to ultimately it being in your cart and displaying, which
Two
was
seconds? That's no way. I can't wait 2 seconds. That's impossible. Not just kidding.
you
But yes,
wouldn't
it's
believe it,
you
but
would
there's
you'd be
a big
surprised the latency involved in these sort of things. Yep.
yeah, huge lag there. So one of our designers, after having been on site, said, "Well, hey, why don't the time it takes to move something from an API perspective, let's do a little conveyor belt animation, tie back to your brand, tie back to the physical location, and bring this connection together." So that's the type of stuff that we try and
Mm.
coach our clients on. That there are magical moments even in deficiencies. And it is thinking really holistically about, okay, this is the process, this is what we're facing, but now let's create some magic moments using design, using the technology. Let's not just do things and sort of throw up screens to check boxes. Let's think about what we're providing from an experience perspective through those. Now, the hard part is a lot of times there's not ROI associated with that. That's sort of my job to work them through the use cases, the examples we've gone through, the best in practice customer experiences that we face. They're not a client of ours, but I talk often about my experience with Chewy as a brand. I can't tell you how good they are from a service perspective, from an app perspective. When I screw something up and they just say, "Hey, don't worry about that small bag of food. Keep it on us. I know you wanted something differently." Like those little micro moments that a brand provides from a service, from an experience, from a technology perspective, go a really, really long way for end consumers. And I think one of the issues, sort of the third point I'll make here, is that sometimes they're hard to quantify, and you do
Mm.
have to take a bit of a longer view and a bit of a leap of faith because it's not going to look potentially great on your balance sheet in month 1, month 2, year 1, but over the long haul, great experiences win, and I think we've seen that over the last 15, 20 years. I'm
Yeah.
interested in your perspective on that.
Wonderful story. And no, I would agree. And it's those minor details that are so often overlooked. Steve Jobs would approve. He would have loved your story there, I'm sure, as we head into Apple season, Worldwide Developer Conference. And you also talk a lot about personalization, how it's no longer a luxury, but it's become the norm. It's become expected. How do you get personalization right?
It's great. It's a great question. I would say the area I would actually talk a little bit more about right now, not that we have it solved on the CX side of the house, but we're seeing a lot more personalization happen on our employee experience side
Mm.
because us as consumers have started to expect that. So when we get into our work day, we expect our work software to operate just like our experiences do in the Chewies of the world, in the Spotify's of the world. So we're seeing a lot of that work happening right now on our EX side, where our partners who are building technology for their employees are paying a lot of attention, not only to the personalization side of it, but making sure people have the right tool at the right time and the process is digitized in a way where they can get access to all of the right information. So we're seeing a ton of work, a huge trend with generative AI in search capability, right? So as an employee, if I want to know what my company has done before or how to find something about a customer, that side of personalization. So like access to information in a really seamless way, not necessarily, hey, this is the 10 things that Jason's going to want to know today. But when I do need to know them, giving me seamless access to find those things. Little different bent, Evan, on personalization, but a trend that we're seeing a ton of. It's almost this ability to react because individuals want information faster than ever, specifically on the EX side. So a different bent on personalization, if that makes sense.
And you talk a lot about employee experience, and you link that to customer experience. I guess if there's an unhappy employee behind the interaction, a contact center or support or what have you, it's tough to have a good customer experience, right?
Oh yeah, totally. I think definitely on the service side, on the customer service side, a lot on the sales side as well. Building tools better for your sales force, for your sales engine. We're seeing a lot of companies really invest in that as a strategy and as a differentiator, because ultimately to get to the client outcomes you want, to get to the customer outcomes you want, they're typically driven by your employees. And we've learned a lot from the SaaS platforms in that regard, right? SaaS platforms are really good at creating sticky tools that we could easily buy from them, and then ultimately that sort of filters down and permeates to how they grow. We have to provide that same experience for processes that are pen and paper, for folks like myself who are still on the growth side of things. You have to be able to support the customer experience you want. So I look at our own business. One of the things we're constantly driving towards is how do we meet our clients' needs faster? And to do that, we have to be able to run our internal processes faster. That's doing things more asynchronously. That's doing more, work at a different speed. That's having smart, thoughtful workflows in our CRM systems and in all of these areas. And that's what we're trying to coach our clients on. Like, you have a client metric, a client outcome that you're trying to get to. What are the employee experience initiatives and items that you need to coach them on and build technology for service design, process design, for as well. Directly correlated though, and to circle, go full circle a little bit. It's one of the reasons customer experiences aren't great if the employee experiences don't match, those outcomes that you're trying to drive for.
Yeah, frustration all along the way there. And you do a lot on the user research and test side. I think, testing is often, an afterthought, which is a shame. What sort of skills and approaches do you bring there?
Yeah. So we have a business design group, and the business design group is bucketed into several different categories. So we have strategists that are thinking about how do you make a business case for things, what is the ROI and some of the initiatives we're trying to drive. We have a research team that, and our big differentiator in the research space is we want to be doing quantitative and qualitative research. We find that too many of our partners, too many of our competitors lean too far in one direction, and that you actually get great insights from both. So as much as we're running large scale surveys and interview-based studies, we're also doing very tactical. This is a product. What does this look like? How does this feel? One-to-one, interview style things. What we see with a lot of our clients is that's where they get the best nuggets. And that's actually how they can start to change some hearts and minds internally, because, that's always hard as well to sort of drive drive momentum around an initiative someone wants to run on the client side. So having those nuggets and those insights from specific consumer really works. You have strategy, you have research, and then the other component I've talked a little bit about is that service design side of things. So really understanding the process by which things work. A recent engagement that we ran in the pharmaceutical space was, how does blood move from a blood testing center all the way through getting the results into a hospital, into a doctor's hands, into a patient's hands?
Oh, wow.
What does
Great
that
question.
process look like from end-to-end perspective? There's 30 different connection points, right? There's all of these different hands that touch it. There's a lot of human intervention for the ways these things could go wrong. And if we go back to speed, it is not the fastest process in the world.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
amazing.
my computer went black there for a second. Sorry about that.
No, I mean that's exactly what we need to transform healthcare is a better understanding of process and how to streamline it and make it more efficient. What that's a whole other rant for another day. But so you must be quite busy these days when it comes to all the new voice interfaces we see out there and AI integration into things like bots, chat bots, and user experiences. Lots of learning, I imagine you're doing, and also experimentation. What say you?
Yeah, ton going on. I joke that for all of the AI is here. Now conversation that we've had over the last 6 months with obviously the big technology boom that we've had. AI's been around, chatbots have been around. We've been sort of testing some of this stuff for a long time. Granted, we are light years ahead of sort of where we were even 3 to 5 years ago. I think the big place where we're doing experimentation is how to do this in the enterprise.
Mm.
So I think we're going to see a lot on the consumer side of it. I know I'm a paid subscriber to ChatGPT. My wife and I were just planning a trip to San Diego, and I was using it as sort of my guide there. I think the big thing we're going to start to see is now how do we take that and how do we put a consumer lens on it? How do we as a business say these are the outcomes we're getting after? This is what we want to do there. And then the point we talked about a little bit earlier, how do we use chat? How do we use AI from an enterprise perspective to make our employees' lives better? That's a huge portion. So I brought up search. Search is a big thing, right? Finding information at your organization, at your company, using that information to move an outcome further, whether it's be more efficient or create a better customer experience. Seeing a ton there, doing a lot of testing, a lot of learning with our clients. I feel like in the macroeconomic environment that we have today, while some of the bigger, loftier, more cutting edge innovation initiatives have been scaled back, the AI conversation has really been put at the forefront. Like, how are we going to make sense of this? And I think that the big thing we coach all of our clients on, don't do something just to do it. Don't go and build an Alexa skill just to do it. Don't go build a mobile app just to do it, right? We've said that for years. It is finding the form factor, understanding what that form factor can do for your customer, and then matching that to the business outcomes you're trying to drive. So that's where we're doing a lot of coaching right now is investigate this technology, understand how pervasive it's going to be, but use it when and where it makes sense to drive to your business outcomes and matches with the customer experiences you're trying to provide, as well as the employee experiences you're trying to provide there.
Oh, I love the idea of coaching your clients. That's a nice mission. You don't hear that much these days. And you're a little different in the way you approach your clients in the market. And digital transformation, you take a very holistic approach, right? It's people, process, technology woven together. It, is that the same for Genpact? Is that your sort of approach to transformation? Is what's different from you from maybe a McKinsey or a blue chip consulting company? It's kind of the three pillars.
Yeah, I think it's the three pillars, and I don't want to disparage any of the folks we go head to head with. I respect all of their work, and I've seen great work in all parts of our space and our business. Where I think we have an interesting differentiator, specifically on the Rightpoint side, and then I'll talk a little bit about how it applies to Genpact is. Over our years and our history, we really have had an orientation to build things, right? To design and build the actual products. So for us, driving the strategy of this, driving the experiences of this, connecting the physical and digital, that's innate in who we are. It's innate in our our processes on who we hire. It's just pervasive throughout Rightpoint, right? Like we have an orientation to do that. So I think we still operate at a bit of a faster speed, and we help our clients a little bit because I think some of the things that they've seen is, I don't want to say bureaucracy gets in the way of innovation, but we all know that when you create a large bureaucratic entity, it doesn't move as quickly. You can't get customer feedback or employee feedback as fast. So Rightpoint typically injects a bit of a shot in the arm of our clients of pushing them to go at our pace a little bit. And sometimes in I'll say some of the larger consultancies or some of the folks we go head to head with, it's a much needed and it's a much different approach in terms of speed to get things done. I will also say Genpact, large company, lots of really strong on the process side. So we've had to inject some of that flavor, into Genpact as well. And I think any acquisition partnership, we really work super close to figure things out and build things together, which I think is the most exciting thing. So for our speed at Rightpoint, Genpact has reacted and allowed equal speed, and that's created some of the best go-to-market approaches, in a combined entity sense.
Love it. Love it. So we're out and about in the world again. I'm traveling. I imagine you are as well, and your colleagues. What are you excited about over the next weeks, couple months, and what's on the radar?
So personally, I'm actually going on a golf trip soon, which I'm super excited about. We're going out to Kohler in Wisconsin, so we're going to play some
Oh,
awesome, great golf courses out there. That's
beautiful.
a passion of mine. I mentioned the trip out to San Diego with my wife. That's a second personal trip. On the work side, I get inspired by the client work. That's sort of ultimately why you get into services. I like to joke, jack of all trades, sort of master of none. So I really do like seeing and seeing a bunch of different patterns and matching those patterns and talking to our clients about things that are happening in different spaces. That's really what I love to do. And we're seeing a lot of that in my sort of spare time at work. I've really been focused on growing our product experience realm, which is something that I've got a lot of passion for, and that I started my career here at Rightpoint in. So really, really excited about the growth we're going to see there and some of the stuff we've got in store for the back half of the year. In general, fired up about just being active and moving. I joke often, activity breeds activity. So when you have a lot going on, you tend to have a lot more going on, and it snowballs. And that's the way I like to work.
Yeah,
The way I
I
like
love
to
it.
work as well.
Virtuous circle. I love the idea and love your insights. So I look forward to getting updates and staying on your mailing list. And I'd encourage people to reach out with any questions or feedback. Thanks, Jason, with Rightpoint. Really intriguing company, and love your mission.
Awesome. Thank you, Evan. I appreciate all the thoughtful questions. This was a fun conversation.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, everyone, for watching. And